Hello! Today is the first day of the trout season here at my local river, and I'm just on my way back home after an airport drop-off, so I thought I'd come and check out the river, which you can see just over there. It's pretty high. It was already high yesterday and has risen another 20 centimeters overnight, and today it's due to go higher and higher. It's just started raining again. It's due to get pretty windy, so I'm not sure I'll be doing much fishing today. Maybe I'll come and have a look again in the evening. But normally I'm very prepared and have prepared all of my fishing gear for the new season well in advance. This year that hasn't happened, so I thought today I'll go home and do a bit of preparation. But before that, let's go outside and have a look at the water while we're here. So yesterday the water was running clear. Today it's really coloured up and keeps rising, and this place does not fish well when the water's coloured. A bit of a look at the other side, but now it is starting to get pretty grim and rainy, so let's head home. Just to compare, this was the water a couple of days before, a little bit higher than average, but completely clear and pretty much perfect conditions for the time of year. Back at home, I have grabbed a bunch of my river trout fishing stuff to get ready, and let's have a look through what I need to do with it. First thing we have are the waders, and they were sent off for some TLC last winter. They didn't leak at the end of last season, which is good, so really nothing to do there. The only thing to take care of is to make sure they're properly clean and dry before storing away for the winter, which they were. So that's them, all good. Then we have wading boots, and this season will be the 6th season of these boots, which is pretty good considering I'd only managed to get a maximum of 1 season out of any previous pair, and yeah, they seem okay, but I think maybe they will last 1 more season. I can see some wear at the back of the heels that's almost gone through. Again, I clean them at the end of each season. I like to treat the leather a bit, which I use this aloe vera lotion, and it rehydrates the leather and should make it last a bit longer. So yeah, these Sims boots should last me another season, and they're good to go. These are my main trout fly rods, and after each use I give them a wipe down and make sure they're dry before storing away, so there really shouldn't be any issues. But what I do is I take them out, have a quick inspection to see that all the guides are okay, that there's not any grit in the ferrules, that there's not any cracks or damage anywhere, and hopefully they'll be good. But let's have a look at one. And this is my glass 4-weight that I don't use over the winter, so I haven't looked at it over the winter, but I'll have a quick look now that all of these guides are looking good. There's no cracking or damage. None of the guides are pulling away. This, by the way, is a rod that I built myself from a ready kit from Epic Fly Rods in New Zealand. They're really awesome kits. I've done this several times now. I think I've built 4 rods with the ready to wrap system, and I really like it. I'd actually like to do at least 1 more, and maybe if you'd like to see a video on the process of building one of these rods, then let me know, and I'll try to do that if and when I get a new one. There's a little bit of dirt there, I'll just wipe off, but it's nothing much. Let's look at the reel seat, all good. Yeah, so that rod's fine, and I'll quickly look through the others like that. So looking at reels and fly line, this is the reel that I use mostly throughout the winter on still water, and at the moment it's on a spool with a full sink line, which I won't use in the river. So I will remove that spool and put the other line on. And this is a Lamson Liquid, which has a sealed drag and barely needs any maintenance. There's a little bit of grime, which I can then wipe down with a microfiber cloth. If it's too dirty, I can get a wet wipe and keep going. But this reel's a bit of a workhorse. It's a tank and just keeps going. So taking the reel off, I'll get the spool with weight forward floating line, put that in place, make sure it's not going to get caught, and there we have that all nice and ready. Next reel needs a little bit more looking at and a little more work. I have also used this over winter, and it has a long leader attached, which I will now remove. And after removing this leader, I'll then have a little look at the fly line itself, and I'll do it on this one because, having looked at it previously, I know it's not in the best state. And I can see lots of cracking. I don't know if you can see. So that fly line is not looking great. And that could do with replacing. This fly line I've had on here for many years. I've tried to look after it, but all fly lines wear out. And this is a Cortland 444 weight forward. I really like it, and it wasn't so expensive. But here in Germany, they're not so widely available and not as cheap as they were in the UK. So I'll have to go and have a look at the shop and see what they have available to replace it when I have time. I should really fully remove the fly line and clean the reel in and out, but the reel's not so dirty. But what I will do is I'll take this reel apart, and I do this at least once a year, because this doesn't have a fully sealed drag. I'll then get to the inside of it, where it will need a little bit of oil, and we'll get to that in a moment. Now, these two are Hardy Ultralite reels, and having had a quick closer look at this reel, I've noticed there is a bit of dirt, and the recommended way to go forward is to run the reel under some fresh water and wipe it clean. So that's what I'm going to do now. I've now rinsed the reels under a tap and wiped down to get rid of the dirt, and it's looking much better. I also wiped off any old grease from the post with a kitchen towel, and I'll just go in with a cotton wool bud down here to get out any dirt, which, as you can see, there certainly is some. And I'll just go around and wipe that down. And that may need a few buds to get rid of the dirt down there. Now I've fully cleaned all around the reels, fine cleaning with these cotton buds, used 4 of those. And now we're all clean and dry. It's time to add some oil and grease, and what I use are these special fishing ones, Abu Garcia oil and grease that I picked up. And first thing we're going to do, take the grease and add a bit to the spindle,
not too much, a small amount, and just dab it around. A little bit of oil, grease in the hole here. That should be good for when it goes back in. We take our oil, very carefully with the needle, put some oil in these indents here for the clicker. It's good to go back together now. Let's put this on carefully, not to spread the grease. So now tighten back up again. Now we just want to get a little bit of oil in between the moving parts. So between the brass and the silver looking, or the golden and the silver looking, and the bits that move and the bits that don't, just swizzle around a bit, get that oil inside, then I wipe off any excess. And that reel's good to go, just need a new line. In my final reel, there's a similar process. This is another Hardy featherweight or ultralight featherweight, I don't know, something like that reel. So this also needs taking apart, cleaning, oiling and greasing. But for the winter, I keep a 5-weight intermediate line on here, which I would like to remove and put the 4-weight double taper line on. So for that I use switch boxes. Let's have a look at those. These are switch boxes from Omnispool, and I use them for storing line, changing line and cleaning line. Now previously what I used for line changing was this Rio cranky kit, which was good, but these switch boxes have a number of advantages. They're good for storing line. They come apart and slot back together. And then when you want to use them for changing line, you take apart like so, and then they have arrows to show you which way to slot things back in, and I'm not following the instructions. So now you've got a box on top here into which you can slot the handle, and this will help you to wind on the line. What also can be bought as an accessory is this, the Linecarebox, and this slots on, let's see if I get it the right way, here. And then when you feed your line through this box to wind it in or to pull it back out onto the reel, you can clean your line. You can also dress your line. You do this through the pads inside, which you can turn over, move around to pull the dirt off and then clean them when you need to. Or you can put some line cleaner in here to pull through when you pull back onto the reel or to put into storage. I've used several methods in the past of using a line cleaning scrubber, applying cleaning agent. The latest wisdom that I have is just purely to clean the line and not dress them. So that's what I'm going to do this time. So what we're going to need for this are 2 switch boxes, One is currently empty, which is where I'm going to put the intermediate line on, and the other one has my 4-weight line, which I'm then going to put onto the reel. So I'm going to set up my system like this. So we've got a crank up top and slide on the Linecarebox like so. And now I just want to put my line through the middle, through the arbour, and I can start winding it on. So now that we've got to the right down to the spool, I'm just going to reach in and snip off the backing from the reel, and we'll reattach that later, and then I can clean this reel. So with our nice clean reel, we're now going to reattach the backing. For this, we just slide the backing through the reel. The other side. And tie an overhand knot over the backing that's coming from the rod. So, another small overhand knot in front. Which I don't know if you can see this at all. Now I'm going to just snip that end off carefully without snippers because they're not next to me. Now we should be able to just slide this all together onto the reel, tighten it down, and then we can start to reel in again. I'm just going to reel the backing onto this reel, stopping short of the fly line, and then I swap the backing over to the new fly line and reel that on with a bit of cleaning on the way. So now that I've got to the end of my backing, I can just take that off and change to the other fly line. I use these bimini twist knots for the end of my backing, which leaves a nice large loop, which means I can fit around the switch boxes and easily loop or unloop any fly line. It's a good system and a very strong loop knot. Now, the thing I forgot is that normally I just use the Linecarebox when I'm reeling in with the switch boxes to pull the line back off with this box attached is a bit too much friction to deal with for this particular rod. I've already cleaned this line when putting it away, so I can just pull out and reel on, or I think what I'm just going to do is open up the switch box and just put the line on. Of course, what I could do is I could put the box just in front of the reel like this. And pull it through this way. And there we go. So this 4-weight reel is fully spooled up with a clean fly line ready to go. Now I'm going to just clean my other fly lines quickly and then we'll move on to the next thing. So a couple of things to come out of that. Obviously, I'm not a hugely experienced user of these boxes yet, but this piece probably doesn't need to be on when doing the line winding and cleaning. You can just put it on for storage. The cleaning box, as you could see, it picked up quite a lot of dirt, and now these pads could do with a clean themselves. There's another thing that I didn't mention, is that inside this spool, the clear piece here is an arbor spacer. There's two different sizes you can get, the large or the small, depending on the line that you're putting on here. So for obviously a heavier line, say a 9-weight plus, you probably don't need any arbor spacer at all to be able to fit it all on. But for a 4-weight or a 5-weight, you probably should use an arbor spacer so that you don't curl up the line too tight and get line memory in there. And I think this is the small size spacer. Now we're getting towards the end of this pre-season check, and mostly I'm just looking at things to make sure I've got all my supplies and all the things that I need are where I hope they are, and I can pack things accordingly. So I've got my amadou patch for drying dry flies. I've got a supposedly retractable tape measure that doesn't retract anymore, so getting a new one of those at some point would be a good idea. Tippet. I used to use Rio tippet a lot, so I've still got lots of that. Now I mostly just use it for still water in the winter, but yeah, I try to use up what I can. What I prefer to use now is Stroft tippet. I really like the material, how strong it is, and abrasion resistant. And I really like these tippet dispensers with built-in cutters. So yep, that's good. I tend to swap around whichever strength of tippet I need according to the day's fishing ahead. This I always keep on me. This is a leader wallet, so I keep all my leaders ready in here. There are a couple of spare new ones. My winter leaders are different from my summer ones. and I keep in here my spare leaders, so I'll need to stock this up with the leaders that I want. Mostly if I'm nymphing on the river, then I'm doing tight line nymphing, and for that I just have a rigged up Euro nymphing leader. I just use this with my regular 5-weight line and rod. I don't have a special setup for Euro nymphing, just so that I can carry one rod around or maximum 2 and switch out when needed. There's not so many places I want to tight line nymph on my local river, or can. Yeah, so I'll change all the leaders that I want for the river season into my leader wallet, and that will stay with me. Floatants and sinkants. Sinkants I don't need on the river. I have a good amount of CDC oil here. I have 2 packs of floatant, so that's plenty. Final thing, it seems, is flies themselves. I normally only take 1 fly box to the river, and I have my nymphs over here, dry flies, and a few small streamers, maybe a couple of woolly buggers and something else in here. If I want to do a day of bigger streamer fishing, I'll take a separate box with bigger streamers. But when I see there's some holes in the boxes, then I have a multitude of other boxes with extra flies of my favourite patterns that I can restock with. Other than that, I think we're ready to go fishing.
It's now late afternoon and I've returned to the river. It's risen quite a bit further. It's still mucky. To all purposes, it's unfishable. It's certainly nowhere to go wading in. I'm going to try and find a couple of quiet side waters to throw a few flies from the bank and see what happens, but I'm not expecting much. And would you believe it, I actually caught nothing. It is nice to be out there throwing flies on moving water again, and now we're all set up and ready for the rest of the season. Thanks for watching along. See you again soon. Bye.